Today in my presentation, I would like to show how the activity that I choose to be a stress relief for me can also be a stressor. Today's sewing machines must be threaded correctly as everything runs according to your threads. If the threads are not properly installed, the machine can break needles, break threads, knot threads, and cause much frustration. These frustrations for me are much like today's generation not being able to connect to the internet to converse with their friends or play their online games. When I was 8, I started sewing, and when I was in the 6th grade, I entered the 4-H Sewing with Cotton contest. I had sewn and entered a complete Western pantsuit. One of the first items I probably would have made as a child would have been a pincushion such as this. This particular pincushion was made by one of my children when the same grandmother that taught me how to sew was teaching them. There are several types of machines to use for sewing. You have your basic sewing machine, which is what I will be demonstrating how to thread today. You have your sergers, such as this, which does specialty threading, specialty sewing, special types of hems, seam binding, seam edging. Then you also have quilting machines, and you have embroidery machines. My sewing machine here is a multifunction machine. It sews the basic sewing, and it also embroideries. Today's sewing machines may or may not come with an operation manual, which inside shows you all about your machine as to how to thread it, gives you a troubleshooter if something's happening and you can't figure out what's going on, what you need to look at. Or you may just get a cardboard with a link to the manufacturer's website to download your manual. This machine also came with a quick reference guide. The reference guide does, again, go over how to thread your machine, wind and thread your bobbin quickly without having to read the whole manual. And it also shows you, since this is a dual machine, different embroidery I can do or monogramming I can do. You can also go online and find much information. This is a basic sewing machine chart giving your basic parts to your sewing machine, how to adjust it, and what happens when you do. You can also download charts such as this for sewing machine needles. Each type of thread must use a particular type of needle, as well as your type of material. You must have specific types of needles. You have your basic needle, which is a size 11 that's used a lot. You have serger needles. You have twin needles, which sews decorative stitching 2 rows at a time, like at the bottom of a t-shirt. You have leather needles, and you have jean needles. Leather and jean needles are extremely thick because the material is much harder to sew. Always start with your sewing machine off. I have sewn my finger to my machine. To thread your machine, you take your thread, spool of thread, place it on the spool holder. This particular machine has a diagram for you to follow printed directly on the machine. You follow each number. You go around. This machine also has a threader, needle threader, in that you thread your needle through all the channels. Pull this lever. It puts the thread through the needle for you. You pull your thread out the back, and your needle is threaded. You would drop your bobbin thread into the bobbin case, put on the lid, follow the diagram and thread your thread through on that, and then turn your machine on. If I have done this properly, I will have a good seam. Let's see. This machine has a self-cutter. Some machines have cutters over here, which this one does, or you will take your scissors and cut. I have a perfect seam. The frustrations caused by sewing machines, again, is your thread breaking because your tension may or may not be right. Your needle breaking because you may not have the proper needle for the material you're sewing, or your thread sniding up under your throat plate because your tensions are off. Yes, when all of this happens, I get very frustrated. If you have checked and rechecked everything and you can't determine why the machine is not properly functioning, you have two other options. One is see if the machine needs oiling and do so, as this must be done on a regular basis for maintenance. Or two, just hang it up for the night and go read a book. Yes, my stress relief activity can be my stressor.